last day or so. So, thinking about how Christmas time can be a sad time of year, depending on what's going on in your life, in your country, and in your world. So, the December of 1980 was made immeasurably sadder by the death of John Lennon, a lingering sadness that threw its long shadow over an entire generation. This concert, now in its 13th year, intends to at least temporarily banish that unhappy ghost, at least for a couple of hours. A group ritual by which we remember and celebrate our love for Lennon and the Beatles' music. My other intention with this is always to spread the love by using every cent of sales for the books and chapbooks back on that table to support charities that I believe that John Lennon would approve. And this year, the take is going to the River Falls Community Food Pantry and also the United Nations Refugee Fund. So we're splitting local and global. So the books are back there. There's a little book of Beatles poems that I wrote a number of years ago. I've just recently enlarged it into a longer edition, but it still contains the amazing story of how in a small town bar in northern Wisconsin one night we saved the Beatles from destruction. It was in August 1966, and we really did that. So that story is in that book. If you don't have it, you need a copy of it. If you can't afford it, just put what you can in the hopper, and it's fine. Every cent of sales is going to those charities. So I also wanted to just recognize that this is a powerful day in the world, locally and globally. It's the second Saturday of Advent with the theme of peace, which seems very appropriate to John Lennon. In Paris, the Notre Dame Cathedral has just opened today after an amazing feat of reconstruction. It's the anniversary of Buddha's enlightenment, and it's the wedding anniversary of our dear friends Ted and Kristen, who are here today. So, also the 44th anniversary of the death of John Lennon, just to the day. John was, anybody who's read any biographical material about him knows that he was far from a perfect human being. But one thing he knew and conveyed magnificently in his songs is that the world is bigger than all of us. And it's still an amazing place where great and miraculous things can happen if we put our hearts and souls into it. So that's his message to the world in the end, hope. So it's ours too, and let's enjoy it with this music and these poems.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start out right at the very beginning, for the Beatles. This poem is called Postwar Sunshine. The Beatles biography, Mark Lewison wrote, Liverpool, that great matrix of Anglo-Celtic alchemy. Imagine your grandparents carrying across the Irish Sea the deprivations of famine, behind the cruelties of Cromwell. Imagine your parents' hand-to-mouth scuffle in that port city, serving the commodious god of the Merseyside docks and warehouses, the merciless gospel of capital. Then imagine the war finding you again, this time Hitler pounding that hub of trade and commerce, killing thousands from the air, the living forced underground, masking their light. Imagine afterward a habitual fear of the sky, of raising too high a profile to the predators. Imagine growing into one's body in a womb that has taken in that trouble. Imagine your playground, the rubbled buildings, childhood games in the unreconstructed bummies. Those are what the kids called the pits that were still left over from the war bummies. Later, the Teds, like unexercised revenants on the mean streets of Spake, the Dingle. Yet good things still happen after a war. Against the past, against the odds. Gray skies must break. Sun suggests again the contour of what was lost, what is worth recovering. Celebration, not only possible again, but necessary. Families singing the louder, each member stepping up to take their turn. While the parents juggle extra jobs to feed their children, there are those children fed on music, implausibly raising the spare quid for a plywood guitar, the second-hand drum set, bussing across town to learn a new chord, rummaging the record shops for the outrageous new rock and roll import. Go back and listen to them again. The boy who lost his mother to cancer. The boy who lost his mother to the ordinary violence of the combustion engine. And you may hear in their voices, in the furious joy of their playing, in defiance of all this, their desperation and style, how they rose, each of them, from some gritty seedbed on stalks, tough and resilient enough to become the unlikely sunflowers we know them as. Each sadness tempered, who with the alchemy of song transformed the gray dross of the given. Mundane Strawberry Field and Penny Lane into a gift for the world, that the sun may resume its indiscriminate work of healing, the brokenness historical trauma inflicts on us, which we then inflict upon our children.